This story was sent to me by Stephanie Dew. She sent it to me on Instagram. And you're looking at this screen right here, and it has a lot of black children in it. And these children are missing or they have been found, and some of them have been found deceased. Some were fortunately to be found alive, and some of them are still labeled as missing and have been for many years now. But she sent me this article that came from CNN that basically is saying that black kids go missing at a higher rate than white kids. And then it goes into an explanation, or a couple of them, as to why we never hear about it. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article, and I'll go from there. The chilling story of Jamie Kloss, the 13-year-old Wisconsin girl who was kidnapped after her parents were killed last year, was national news. But people might be less familiar with the story of Ariana Fitz, a 2-year-old who went missing in 2016 before her mother was found brutally murdered in the San Francisco Bay Area. Each of these cases is compelling, but the two didn't receive the same amount of media attention. Some experts believe it's because Kloss is white and Fitz is black. In fact, data shows that missing white children receive far more media coverage than missing black and brown children, despite higher rates of missing children amongst communities of color. The FBI's National Crime Information Center database lists 424,066 missing children under 18 in 2018, the most recent year for which data is available. About 37% of those children are black, even though black children only make up about 14% of all children in the United States. It's harder to say how many Hispanic kids are missing. The FBI report groups white and Hispanic children together. Now, I thought that was very interesting that they put that there, but it wasn't so shocking considering they lumped them together in a lot of stats, especially when it comes to those crime stats or those population stats, because when it comes to palm color people, they'll add any group in there, well, probably besides us, to pad those numbers. Based on other reports, about 20% of missing children are Hispanic or Latino, according to Robert Lowry, Vice President of the Missing Child Division at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. But the real number, he said, is likely higher. I think there's a false belief that white children make up the biggest number of missing children, when in fact, proportionally, it's just the opposite. Lowry said, adding that the high number of black girls reported missing is particularly concerning. Here are some reasons experts say we don't hear about missing children who happen to be black. The first reasoning is their families are hesitant to call the police. Some families are hesitant to contact law enforcement, even if they think their child is missing, making a sense of distrust between law enforcement and the minority community, said Natalie Wilson, co-founder of the Black and Missing Foundation. That distrust contributes to a silent code of no snitching, Wilson said, adding that it is important for people who suspect a child is missing to speak up. It could be your child, your mother, your father that's missing. You would want someone to speak up to help find them. Other families might not report their child missing because they fear it could have unintended negative consequences. For example, Lowry suspects missing Latino children are underreported because some families with undocumented members might not contact police for fear of being deported. The second reasoning is they don't get as much media attention coverage. Now, that one I definitely agree with. News media organizations have often been criticized for not giving missing black children the amount of attention they give missing white kids. A 2010 study found that black children were significantly underrepresented in TV news. Even though about a third of all missing children in the FBI's database were black, they only made up about 20% of the missing children cases covered in the news. A 2015 study was bleaker. Though black children accounted for about 35% of missing children cases in the FBI's database, they amounted to only 7% of media references. Experts say media coverage is vital to helping solve these cases. See, this is another reason as to why we need our own global media that rivals things like CNN and MSNBC and that other thing that claims to be a news channel, but we know that it ain't. because then we can constantly put out images of our missing youth on a consistent basis. And saw how I'm staying on top of that Kiara Coles one, because many people forgot about her, because like they don't really talk about her on a national level. They on a local level they'll probably talk about her if you live in Chicago in that area, but on a national level they stopped talking about her. It put law enforcement on alert, and they add additional resources to the case. If no one knows about it, then no one's doing anything to help find them or help them get the assistance they need. The next reasoning is families don't have the resources. Families don't always have the financial resources to respond appropriately when their child is missing. They might not be able to afford a private investigator or take off from work to help look for their child and follow up with law enforcement and the media. In some cases, they may not know what to do. Wilson said some people are under the misconception that they must wait 48 hours before filing a police report, when that waiting period varies by location. Places like Illinois or Washington, D.C. don't have the waiting periods or to report a child missing. Knowing the laws in your state helps, and when in doubt, contact law enforcement immediately. There are other resources that families can utilize as well. The Black and Missing Foundation helps families of color file police reports, create missing posters, and spread the word about missing children. Facebook groups offer an online community for parents to alert the public about their missing child and ask questions of others who have similar experiences. Alicio Montoya, who runs the Facebook group Runaways and Missing Children in California, said he keeps the page going because it allows families to feel like they're doing something when it seems like the authorities are giving up. A page like mine is very important for people of color because nobody really embraces us. The next reasoning is some get classified as runaways. When most people think of missing children, they think of young children abducted by strangers. But missing children can refer to kids who are abducted by relatives or children who leave home, either voluntarily or after being lured by someone else. Many missing children of color are classified as runaways, when while running away from home isn't a problem unique to non-white children, they are particularly vulnerable. A significant number of non-white children who go missing are either homeless or in foster care, and many are at risk for sex trafficking. Data shows black children are overrepresented in foster care and are at a much higher risk for homelessness. Law enforcement often classifies children of color as runaways without having all of the details, because those kids are considered to have voluntarily left home. Amber alerts aren't sent out about them, and they typically aren't covered in the news. Runaway cases and abductions by family members don't get the same attention that abductions by non-family members or strangers do. But all these scenarios fall under the missing umbrella. A child is missing if they are under the age of 18 and their legal guardian doesn't know where they are. The NCMEC no longer distinguishes between runaways and abductions on their posters of missing children. Frankly, we are dealing with a desensitized public and media when we did that. Now, if you check our website out now, our children are just listed as a missing child. Wilson stressed that the runaway cases should be treated with the same urgency. We have to be mindful. What did they leave from and what are they ultimately running to? Sometimes children of color get classified as runaways when they are truly missing. Wilson said her organization has seen many cases. We tell parents all the time, you know your child better than anyone else. Their behavior, their characteristics, she said. If you believe your child did not run away, you just have to stand firm with law enforcement and let them know that this is uncharacteristic of your child. That was a very interesting, very well detailed article. Those points that they gave as to reasoning as to why black children go missing at a higher rate, and while we don't really hear about them, each point brought some validity to them. Then I'm glad they just didn't list the point and they didn't add any additional information as to why they gave those points, because all those points definitely were very important. But I would say, to me, the most important one is that we don't get the media attention. Because like I said, the first one was the families are hesitant to call the police. The next one was they don't get as much media coverage, which I wholeheartedly agree with. The families don't have the resources, and then some of the kids get classified as runaways. Basically, when they try to classify them as runaways, they're trying to make it seem like they don't have to go and really search for this person because they're going to automatically assume that the kid is going to come back. That's not always necessarily true. But I want to hear from y'all. I want y'all to let me know down in the comments, out of those four options, well, not options, those four reasonings as to why, which are, I'm going to read those options, those reasonings again. Their families are hesitant to call the police. They don't get that much media coverage. They don't have the resources, and they're classified as runaways. Out of those four reasonings, which one do you think stands out the most to you, or the one that you think actually holds the most weight as to why the black children usually never get found, or they just stop looking for them? Like I said, mine was because of lack of media coverage, because I think that's the strongest one out of all of them. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.